Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with feelings. And the feelings for probably a lot of people this week, after all that we've seen in the news about Ukraine, is probably one of fear. And so that is why today I'm going to be talking about not only how do we control our fear, but what about helping others that we know and love control theirs? Because, fear is a really, really difficult thing to cope with. It's one of the base ones, right? Dr. Jerry Jampolsky said love is letting go of fear. And he also said time and time again, there are only really two emotions, love or fear. And everything that we feel in between those two is just part of that. All right. So all your negative feelings come from a place of fear, all your positive feelings come from a place of love, which I think is a really simple way of putting it. But when we talk about the base, either love or fear, it is really intense and therefore something we need to talk about. I've got some quotes for you today, obviously, and one of them that I found was, "Thinking will not overcome fear, but action will." And I want you to be aware that sitting and thinking about it all can, quite honestly, probably end you up in a worse place rather than a positive one. Hi there to Jeannie, to Jody, and to Charlotte who just popped in. I just wanted to say to those of you who are in the room, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And for those of you who don't know who Jody is, she is our admin and she does a wonderful job of looking after us. And then for those of you I can see are sitting in the background and probably enjoy being there, but I can see you. Just to thank you for being here as well, and feel free to watch in the background. That's fine. I know viewers tell me that what they do is they watch, or rather they listen while they do other things, and I just am honored that you are there at all. Um, so here we go. What's saying there? Yes, Charlotte is adding actions speak louder than words or thoughts. Yes, but when you're dealing with fear, sitting and dwelling in it actually doesn't do you very much good at all. It's not what I call emotionally intelligent people do. All right. Emotionally intelligent people know that having the feeling of fear is quite normal. Right. But then what we're going to talk about is, what do you do next? So before we get to that, I just wanted to make sure that you all know um, that we've had. What happened here? All right. As far as I know, normally at the beginning I do updates on the viewers. I haven't had any updates from viewers this week, so nothing to tell you about. And as far as I know, no birthdays to update you on this week. So if you are a regular viewer or a regular watcher, listener, whatever, um, and we haven't acknowledged your birthday and it happens to be in the month of February, please let me know so that we can put you on our database and make sure that doesn't happen again. I want to remind you as well that, some of our viewers are dealing with some pretty intense stuff all on their own. You will remember that, Jody is struggling at the moment with all sorts of issues. And then on top of that, Lionel, her husband, went and fell and hurt his shoulder. And, I think one of the most difficult things is it's bad enough when one of you is incapacitated, when both of you are. That's a whole different story. And, especially if that second person is the one that runs for the medications or the groceries or whatever. So, it's been a difficult challenge for Jody, but as usual, she and Lionel are handling it really well and doing what they can not to make stupid choices. And when I say stupid choices, it's very easy when you're the caregiver to to try and do too much before you should, And the difficulty in this is that Lionel's going to end up hurting his shoulder even more if he doesn't listen to what the doctors are telling him. So, his, as far as I can understand, he hasn't quite dislocated his shoulder. There's a little bit hanging on, but, if he does too much, it's going to be more problem. So, right, Charlotte's done 311 days active outside for a minimum of 30 minutes a day. Isn't that amazing? She's done that for 311 days, no excuses, rain, shine, and she lives in a really cold part of Canada. And I would say that is really something to be very proud of, Charlotte. What is your main payback from doing that? What would you say you have gained from having that discipline to go and just spend 30 minutes a day outside? I know at this time of the year for me, and I'm in southern British Columbia, so my weather is very different from Charlotte's. Um, for me, it's seeing the spring snowdrops, or rather the winter snowdrops and crocuses and things like that coming up. It absolutely stops me dead in my tracks. And I just stand there for a second and go, aren't you pretty? So I just want to make sure, for those of you who might be new, just know that we are a group of people who get together 3 times a week to cope with our day-to-day lives. And the reason that we do that is because we know from experience that getting together and talking about it and hearing other people's views about it helps everybody. It doesn't just help the person who's got the issue today. It also helps the people who are hearing the story, because they can see it in real life. And to make sure that you all know, we all have feelings, and feelings are perfectly okay, quite normal, and we should have them, good or bad. And quite honestly, we tend to put a lot of store in good feelings, right? When the truth is, you can learn a whole lot more from your negative feelings than you can from maybe your positive ones, because you're inclined to ignore them. So if you can learn to go, okay, I've got a real negative feeling going on right now. Um, you know, let me have a look at that. Let me feel it, and it's okay. Let me find a friend to vent to, and that's okay. But then move on, right? Have a look at it. See why, and you'll be amazed if you turn the mirror exactly. As you get more and more emotionally intelligent, it actually gets quite amusing. I'm amazed how many times I burst out laughing and going, "Hmm, just a tad resentful, were you?" And what does that mean? And so I learned to laugh at myself. But the feeling of fear is a little bit more hmm, difficult. All right, Charlotte's just answering us back on the question I asked about what has she gained. She said, more to the point, ask me what I haven't gained. All right. Yes, and Charlotte's also adding, that there is sanity in upheaval, turmoil, and rough patches. Yes, if you go out for a walk, you'll be amazed how it changes your mood if you can walk. And for those of you who can't, maybe go to somewhere like YouTube and put up one of the country walks that they've got, right? Or one of the walks in a major city that you would always like to visit, right? And you can just literally stand up, if you can stand up, and walk to it. Or if you can't stand up, you can sit there and maybe do arm rolls as you watch the movie walk through, a capital city or a particularly pretty garden or whatever. There's so much available to us today. And if you think that sitting there doing this doesn't use any steps, then any of us who've got smartwatches will tell you you're wrong. All right. So you want to put in, 250 steps an hour, and you can't walk, you can do it. And the other thing is, you can do other things, right? You can do things to keep your blood moving. I think the most important thing is to understand this is about moving, not about exercise. All right. Hi, Sandy. Good to see you as well. So when I talk about this, I want you all to understand that what is happening in the Ukraine will affect us all in many, many ways. And the reason that I want us all to talk about our fears is because sometimes our fear is because we don't have enough information. And I'm not suggesting I have all the information because I don't. Maybe our fear is because we are, you know, um, transferring our thoughts way too far forward and, having that problem. And so what I wanted to do is just see, first of all, with no filters on it, other than the ones that YouTube will obviously not like, what do you fear about what is going on in the world at the moment, and particularly in the Ukraine? So let's deal with reality to start with. And what I want to do is, while we talk about this, or while you are busy typing that up, um, I just want to make sure that we understand that because fear is a feeling, that we actually have the ability to control it should we choose to. And it was said that there is no illusion greater than fear. So the suggestion is that fear actually is almost an illusion, but that doesn't mean you're wrong in feeling it, all right? I often quote Dr. Wayne Dyer because one of the things that when I read his Your Erroneous Zones, when I read that book, it was the big eye opener to me that, people don't fear heights. Heights don't come and attack you. Um, People don't like the feeling they get when they are high up. It's about them. It's not about the height. It's about their reaction to being high up. And, the whole book was about these erroneous things that we think, all right? And, how many of them do we have? And they really control our days. So just be aware. And one of the best lessons you can learn in life is to master how to remain calm. So tell me, if you will, what are your fears? And I know that there've been quite a few things going on. Do any of you, first of all, have any family or friends who live in Ukraine? Or maybe you've got somebody that you talk to on Messenger who lives in Ukraine. And so the first thing I would say is, aren't we lucky that now we have social media where we can, keep tabs on people a little better than we used to be able to. But even so, that is likely to be stopped very soon. Yes, Jeannie's saying the bravery of the Ukrainians. It's amazing as they fight for their country against a strong, evil opponent. We are praying for this country and its people. Yes, did any of you hear about the people on the little tiny island of Snake? It's called Snake Island, and it's just off the coast of where Ukraine meets Romania. By the way, if you are at all interested in what's going on, it's a really good idea to keep a map of the Ukraine and its surrounding areas and countries, on your tabs open on your laptop, because as you hear about another city, you can just sort of click on it and go, now where is that one? Oh, that's there. Okay, got it. And it just helps you understand strategically, if you're interested in that sort of thing, what is actually going on. I must admit, and you will forgive me, and I don't want to sound callous or harsh in any way, I was not surprised that it was a full-blown take over Ukraine attack. Why? I think I told you all in the last couple of weeks, when you see where all the troops are positioned, and I am not a five-star general, right? But when you saw where all the troops were, they were to the east, they were to the northeast, they were to the north. They then started to bring ships in to the south. That was like, hello, this isn't going to be a small little, hello, we're just going to pop over the border here and protect these people on the east. We're going to come in from 3 of the 4 sides. And by the way, it was important that they had troops in Belarus because it is the fastest way into Kyiv. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but it was interesting to me that I have mispronounced the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv, all my life. I always thought it was Kiev. Chicken Kiev. How many of you relate to Chicken Kiev? We never called it Chicken Kyiv. But I have now learned that the right way to pronounce it is Kyiv. So I learned something today. All right. So now then, let me see here. Anyway, I was talking about the people on Snake Island, and a huge Russian warship came up close to the island, and sent a message on their communication system to the people. They were just like this tiny little community of a few people, guarding the Snake Island. And they said, we are a military warship, and we need you to lay down your arms, or else the repercussions could be very serious. Please, and they said, please acknowledge. Well, I want to tell you, the people on that little island of Snake Island responded as they requested with two words that meant go away, but they won't go away. They used other words, and I'm pretty certain you all know what I mean. And, the sad thing is they didn't live to tell the tale, as far as we know. But, what incredible bravery, to have, a huge ship that you knew was going to send one missile and probably, nuke all of you, when and yet you still said it. All right, so here's the thing. Yeah, Jodie's saying she's also mispronounced Kyiv all her life, so I'm glad I wasn't the only one. Jeannie's saying Poland and Estonia are allowing people with dogs to enter their countries easily. Yes, that's amazing, isn't it? That and I'm going to talk to that in a second, Jeannie, because that's really important, right? The humanitarian crisis that will happen any minute now. As the refugee situation increases. And so I think we can do things about that. And the only thing is, if you are going to donate money, and this is a big be careful from me, understand the charlatans, the people that want to trick you, will be trying to get you to donate money to the Ukrainian cause. Please triple check where you're sending your money. All right. Now, I would say if you are following a particular mainstream news organization, and they have a place where you can donate money, I would probably think that would be safer than a lot of, and it doesn't matter which news you follow. I'm not trying to say politically which one you should donate to. What I'm saying is, contact your bank. Your bank will know a safe way to do it. And that is really, really important. All right, so Jody is saying Kiev is what the city was called when it was under Soviet rule. And the name changed when Ukraine became an independent country in 1991. Ukraine's spelling of Kiev. Oh, right, so the spelling change as well. Yes, I see that. And Jeannie's also mentioned the fact that the spelling changed. Okay, got it. That's funny you should say that, because you're right. It was spelled Kiev, wasn't it? Yeah. And so it was no wonder that we all called it Chicken Kiev, because it was. All right, so now it's Kyiv. Thank you, guys. Don't you love it when we learn these things together? I do. Anyway, so are any of you who are in the room right now or listening in the background struggling with any overwhelming fear at the moment? And the point that I want to get to is, what is your fear? Do you know what your fear is? Because that is a really important thing when you're dealing with an emotion, to have a really good look at the root of it. All right. So if you can understand where the fear is coming from, you're going to be able to deal with it a lot better. What's bringing it up? By the way, I would recommend do not spend your time dishing out blame right now. Hi, Nyasha. Good to see you. Please do not spend your time, dishing out blame. That's not going to help anybody right now. All right. Um, if you are overwhelmed with fear, what or a friend of yours might be. Maybe you've got a friend who's overwhelming in fear. The main thing is to keep them talking about what they fear. All right, just so that you can really understand. Or let me ask you something. If you have been really fearful, um, what has helped you? Let's, sometimes when you can turn it around, you can get the answers pretty easily. When you have been in fear, what calmed you down? And how many of you know that part of our fear is a lack of knowledge? If we don't have enough knowledge, then we don't have enough information to balance out what we believe may be true. And so be aware of that you keep, if you choose to, keep doing the research that you need to do. Make sense? Okay, so if you have overwhelming fear and talking to your friends doesn't help lower it, understand that, getting some help, if you're in a country that gives help, isn't a bad idea. All right, especially if this thing escalates. Jeannie's saying, I cannot listen to the news all day because I worry about the Russians killing the Ukrainians. Right. Thank you for that honesty, Jeannie. I appreciate that. And you're not alone. How many of you fear the slaughter that is about to happen? We've already had some happen, but it's going to happen big time any minute now. How many of you fear the loss of innocent lives? Men, women, children, animals, whatever. Because that is understandable that you would be concerned about that. All right. So I don't think there's any doubt that it's going to happen. And I am in that reality. All right. I don't want to fear that it might happen. I actually am in a space that goes, I am sheltering myself. I'm putting up, you know, um, strong boundaries in my head and dealing with a reality that says, expect it to happen. All right. Because if I'm ready for it to happen, not fearful that it may happen, but ready for it to happen in my own emotional state, it will be easier to deal with. Does that make any sense? So, and let me ask you a question, because this could come up with your friends as well. If you've got a friend who's freaking out about the loss of life that's going to happen or all the rest of it, does it make any sense to you that freaking out about them is not helping them at all? All right. And you know that here at Dear Mama Sal, we talk about what can we do, not what we can't do. All right. We talk about what can we do. So hold on a second. Let me see what Jeannie's saying here. Hearing that Ukrainians are in the underground shelters reminds me of when I lived in Israel and we had bomb shelters. Yes, absolutely. And for those of you who are, my age and older, remembering the bomb shelters during the Second World War. Now, actually, I was born just after the Second World War, but, I remember hearing about them. So, yes, absolutely. All right, that is, some of us are going back to learn from history, and I'm going to help you do that a bit in a second, because there's some interesting things that we can learn from history. You will find that it's necessary to let things go, simply for the reason that they are heavy. So, and that, by the way, came from C. Joybell C. You don't have to sit and watch the news all day. If it's becoming overwhelming to you, turn the news off and do what? That's the thing. If your friend says, I'm busy watching the news, I'm glued to it, help them get away from it for a while. Now, there's part of me that says keep aware of what's going on because, it's very, very important. But get away from it for a while and do what? That's the question. What helps you occupy your mind so you don't think about what's going on? I would like to say that for those of you who are craft people, go and do something that's craft related. If you are people who are musical, go and play music. All right. Yes, Beth, very good. Beth's making a very good point, and I wondered if anybody would come up with that one, which is the fear that China will join Russia's fight and take over the world because China has the most powerful military. Yes, and I am pretty sure that probably has already happened in some way. You know what I mean? I cannot believe that this was a thought that he had on a week ago. I think I'll take over Ukraine. Um, this has been planned. You there's no way you could have that much military movement and strategic stuff going on. That it has been planned for a long time, and it's only now being implemented. So yes, Beth, I don't think it's a maybe. Because if they can't hold their money where they used to, that's the sanctions now, then they will put their money now into China. Makes sense to me. So again, don't be fearful that it could happen. Um, it will happen. The one thing, funnily enough, any of you concerned that there will be a nuclear war? Yes, Beth, I agree with you again. Inflation is going to be really bad. The price of everything is going to go up, and we'll talk about that in a second as to the why. And I've been trying to warn you guys of that over the last year. After the pandemic, I thought inflation would go rampant, but now with what's going on, there's even more reason why inflation will go up. So be very, very careful. Yeah, Jody's saying I definitely have a fear of nuclear war. Good. Beth is saying I've already started my stockpile. We're going to be talking about what I really recommend you stock up on and why in a second. All right. So the thing about nuclear war is if we start that, we will destroy the planet. And quite honestly, I don't think anybody wants to destroy the planet. They want to build their empires, but they don't want to destroy the planet, right? So one person pushes that button, I assure you, you're going to have China push it, North Korea push it, you name it. Everybody's going to be pushing it. In which case, we don't have to worry about that because we won't be around. Um, so, and I know that sounds incredibly glib, and but you understand what my point is. That I don't think, quite honestly, I think everybody has nuclear capability to protect themselves, but I really don't think that anybody wants to use it. All right. Will they? Maybe. But if they do, all those buttons will get pushed, and then, what will be left of the world won't be worth living in, quite honestly. Um, Is there another pandemic in the making? No, not that. Well, we've got another variant that's coming in. That's not what I am talking about here, Nyasha, if that's what you're thinking about. I'm talking about the trouble of Russia invading Ukraine. Yes, and Jody, I agree with you. If we had a nuclear war and you survived it, I don't think it would be a world you would particularly want to live in. And, Are you mentally prepared to have to try and live in it? Ugh. And how about those of you who have faith, all right? Do you agree that it's important to have your faith be bigger than your fear? And I'm certain a lot of you are putting up a lot of prayers. So again, if you're getting overwhelmed by the news of what's happening in Ukraine, please take a step away from it. And, maybe check in twice a day to get updated so that you keep aware. I actually don't know about the rest of you, but I fell asleep the other night with the television on and the sound up. And what woke me up was the sound of air raids going off. Those sirens. And I want to tell you, in that split second, I wasn't sure whether it was happening in my world, but it turned out it was happening in Ukraine. But I want to tell you that really woke me up, big time. So if you get overwhelmed with fear, please do something else to occupy your mind. Think about doing crafts. Start your Christmas list. Do something that will be good. Maybe do some extra baking. Maybe as Beth was saying, update your pantry list, and we're going to talk a bit more about that. How about taking yourself out? What about go bowling? All right, or go to the bingo, or do something where your mind's just going to be away from it for a few hours. All right, and what about maybe just phoning up a friend and going for a meal? All right, so Beth is saying, I had a nightmare last night that they took over and we could not get food and we were all starving. I woke up suddenly and started to grab my keys to go open up the store and get food. I woke up sweaty. Gosh, that's really troubling to hear that, Beth. But I'm pretty certain, as usual, I love your honesty, all right? But I'm pretty certain that other people will have that same reaction. Jeannie's saying, I pray nightly for the certain countries, the US, Canada, Israel, and for the Ukraine. All right. And we need to, for those of you who have that faith, pray a lot. We will need your prayers. All right. So Niasha's saying that she just wants to know if there's another pandemic-like process. I believe there is a new variant, B2, I think it is. Jody will advise me, that is spreading, but it is not, it's the flu, another flu. Yes. All right. Now, this is the point that we're going to talk about to some degree. Hi, Kimmy. Kimmy's saying food prices went way up. Instead of spending 89 cents yesterday, we spent $2.13. All right. Sorry, $89. We spent $213. Yes. And by the way, I know this is going to be really surprising to a lot of you. I believe that the prices you're seeing today, you will be grateful to see them again. Do you know what I mean? It's going to go so high that you think today's prices are high. I think when it drops back down to this, you will be so grateful. So we need to be prepared for that. So we need to be prepared not only mentally, physically, maybe even financially, and practically. All right. But so that's what we've been trying to do for some weeks now. Right. Jean is saying, I intend to buy several cans of tinned soup that have meals in them. Yes, I've always said that to you, right? Make sure that you have cans of soup with meat in it. Like, hang on a second. All right, I'm not getting paid to advertise anybody, so I will put my thumb over it. But this one is a rustic beef and barley. All right, now that's a couple of meals, at least a couple of servings in there. This one is, I have to turn it around because of the French. All right, New England clam chowder. All right, another couple of meals in there. Now, why is it so important to buy canned goods now and not later? Anybody work that one out? Stock up on canned stuff. Stock up on canned ham, canned crab, canned whatever you can. Clam. um, all right. So Kimmy is saying, everything's, it's going to be dangerous because everything's going to be in a can or a box. Yes, which is not as healthy. But I think you can do the different size. As Jody said, this is rustic beef and barley. Both beef and barley are proteins. Yes, good idea to buy cans because cans last a long time. Beth is saying it's a good idea to do it because prices will go up and lack of supply. You understand, if we go to war, and I went back in history, and I'll catch up on a few of those things in a second that I picked up on. But one of the things that will get scarce is tin. Why? It'll go towards building more tanks and equipment and whatever. So from that perspective, be aware. Make sure you've got your cans in place and also, quite honestly, although it's high sodium, I think it's one of the cheapest ways to have a meal. All right. I mean, a couple of bucks for 2 meals. So know that tin could get scarce. All right. So last week we talked about your living areas and how would you heat it. All right. So now it's a case of, if it gets really bad, you are going to need to really think about looking after your heating bills, your use of electricity, all those sort of things. And we will continue to talk about that. I would remind you, if you have the ability to have a barbecue, a charcoal barbecue, get one. Because it may be easier to get wood and make charcoal. You might not be able to buy it, but you can, go forage some wood and make charcoal. Will be easier than maybe butane or anything else, or even gas fuel, gas barbecue. So at the moment, I have an electric barbecue, but as you know, my emergency preparedness, I also have a butane fired one, and I've just ordered cans to support that. But I also am collecting twigs and things, and ready to use I got a little baby a little baby wood barbecue. All right. Yes. Now then, good point. Jody is mentioning the supply chain for many medications will be affected as well. If there is any way you can get stocks for your base medication stuff. For example, I am diabetic. I test myself every day. I have got at least a year of testing equipment in my medicine cabinet at the moment. I think about a year I've managed to get it up to. All right. Now, I can make it last 2 years by only testing myself every other day, or I can make it last 5 years. You understand? I can choose if I really needed to, I could still keep control. But I think Kim made a really good point there. All right. Which is, if we are buying things in a can, we won't be able to control our food intake in terms of sodium as much, or in terms of sugars as much. Because if we're buying canned fruit, for example, try and get canned fruit that is in water, not in liquid, not in juices. All right? That be healthier. Am I correct in that, Jody? I'm just, wait a minute, having a look here. So if you buy these sort of things, oh, I'm trying to read what's on here. Nothing is on here, so. Okay, so if you buy these sort of things, all right, both these, and I didn't realize it, but now I'm going to be more aware. Both these are packed in their juices, all right? So that will have more sugar in it than ones that are packed in water. Just a thought. So don't be fearful of the supply chain medications being limited. It's going to happen. So think about what you could do. One of the things I suggested last week, and I'm going to keep repeating it, is if you are on medications and you take them and they're important to you, start ordering them up a week or two before they run out. And when you get the new lot, take that 1 or 2 weeks and put them away. All right. And then the next time you order 1 or 2 weeks earlier, take the 1 or 2 weeks and put them away. Now, obviously, you're going to have to start rotating the first ones, but try and get, you can probably get a few months of emergency supply that you can create for yourself if you choose to. What about, how many of you are interested how my potato tower is doing? One of the things I'm saying is that, we're going to want to, grow our own food. And I realize not everybody's got a garden. So I'm doing experiments here to amuse you on what is possible to do. Jody's saying the fruit in sugar or syrup can be rinsed off to reduce the sugars and the portion can be adjusted. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So anybody want to see the tower? It's grown quite a bit, actually. But what I was thinking about, if you can't grow your own vegetables, can you grow microgreens? Do you all know what microgreens are? All right. So, I think you all know that all right, I think these chives could go all the way back to about November. These chives here go back to January 25th. All right. So, so can I have green in my food in terms of onion type taste? Yes. This is the bottom of a celery thing. Oops. And I've just, got it growing like this. There's nothing else there, just water. It's on a damp piece of face cloth. And there's also a piece of face cloth going across here and into here, so it's drying up. All right, let me get the potato tower for you, Jody. I'm scared of dropping it now. Okay, can you remember last week I showed you I had just added this and the top of it was about here? All right, look where it is now. It's already 3/4 of the way up. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. Can you see it there? Okay. So the reason I'm doing this experiment is it takes about 4 months for potatoes to mature. So this is January. These two are February. I'm reckoning this should be ready to harvest around about April. And this would be ready to harvest in May. You can probably see that what I'll be doing is just removing the bottom part and then continuing to add is what I'm going to try and do. I want to see how long it will last. So my question is, if you didn't have any potatoes and you could have a few baby potatoes, how many of you are going, I could handle that? All right, what else have I got here? Obviously, I've got my tomato growing. I've got kale growing. But I'm busy now starting to do experiments on microgreens. Now, microgreens are just seeds that are sprouting. All right? Seeds that are sprouting. So I am trying to do some bean sprouts at the moment, or pea sprouts, I think. But if you couldn't get any greens, could you buy seeds now ready to make microgreens? Seeds are much more cost effective, and if you can learn how to make microgreens, you can have good nutrition without very much work. So I'm going to be showing you how my experiment is going. Do you want to see how far I've got? I've only just started it yesterday. It might not work, but I'm going to keep going until it does. But I'll show you on Sunday maybe. And we've already talked about, be very careful if you're going to donate money to the cause in Ukraine, right? The scammers are out. Oh, by the way, have any of you had the scam yet? I got it this week. I couldn't believe it. It came through on my cell phone, and that was a scam that said, if you have had 3 vaccines, press yes or something. Anyway, you knew that it was a scam if you were, halfway. I actually need to find it because it was interesting. Anyway, you get the idea. Either way, that once you pressed yes, they were going to be onto you because they were going to give you a special vaccine certificate that you would need to pay for, but they would want your bank account number, obviously. So do not give out your bank information over the telephone to anybody that you don't know. That's number 1 rule. Anybody who phones me or contacts me out of the blue and wants bank stuff, just don't do it. So I thought we'd go back in history a little bit, because sometimes the answers that we need are in history if we bother to do the work, all right? Because that will tell us what went in short supply before, and the chances are that you will have that again. Now, if you own a car, have you already noticed the price of gas has jumped even this week? All right, absolutely jumped. I paid, just to give you, I don't know, how many of you speak in liters, but I paid $1.76, basically. I think it was 75.9 for a gallon. Not a gallon, a liter. So 2.2 liters to the gallon. So I was paid about $3.20 for a gallon in Canada this week. And that's just the beginning. Why? How much of the world's gas does Russia supply? And if you live on the east coast of Canada, for example, they get a lot of their gas from Russia. So now things are going to get more expensive. We know that anything that is tinned will become short supply if this goes into a bigger war. All right? So buy your tin stuff now. And I would say buy milk in tins, be it condensed milk, buy, what else have you got? Coconut milk, get evaporated milk, anything you can get while you still can. It would be a good idea to have a supply. If you like milk powder, It's very expensive, we know, but get it if you can. If you have got room to freeze milk, consider doing that. So I believe, though, that even though tin was in short supply because of the armaments and planes and stuff they needed to build, remember that if this goes into a full-scale war, I think it'll be less boots on the ground stuff and more missiles being sent across. Good point, Jody. Jody's saying shelf-stable Terrapacks. Like the juice box things. You can buy milk in there. Have you got milk in there, Jody? It was a common thing when I was in Africa. We all had milk in Terrapacks, and it lasted for a long, long time. So also, maybe get other things in Terrapacks because they do have a very long shelf life and way past the expiry date. Okay. So let's be honest. I went back and said, let me find out what went into short supply in a hurry in the last war. All right. And what they said was vegetables, tomatoes, onions, and fruit. All right. So think about that. Tomatoes, onions, and fruit. Tomatoes and onions are very easy to grow, and fruit is not easy to grow. So if you're going to get fruit, get canned fruit. All right. Jody's saying you can even get whipping cream in Terrapacks. Jody, make a note for me, please, because I want to find out the name of it and get both. If you remember, well, you probably don't, but you might have heard your family tell you about the fact, they had rationing. But what they also did is they encouraged everybody to grow what they called victory gardens. In other words, when they realized the war was going to be more than a year, they encouraged everybody to use whatever space they had. And it didn't matter if you were in an apartment building or whatever, to use whatever space they had to grow vegetables. All right. Not only to help you, but maybe help your neighbors. And if you're in an apartment, think about window boxes. And even if you're useless at growing a potato tower, but that doesn't take a whole lot of space, does it? But even if you can't do that, and again, remember my comment about this, which is if you're bringing dirt from outside in, nuke it, right? Sift the stones out of it and everything, and then nuke it so you kill all the bugs, so you're not bringing a lot of compost type bugs into your house. But think about this. How many of you, I would buy flower seeds as well. Why? Imagine if times got really tough and you could look out of your window and see flowers in your window box. How many of you are going, yeah, I would like that? For some of you, instead of getting another plant to put in your home this spring or summer, maybe you start growing lettuce. And start it by growing microgreens, so you know how to do that. And microgreens will give you all the sprouts you need, and then you can, take half of them and try to grow lettuce. Yes, Jeannie, I agree with you. A small garden is better than none. If you grow a lot of one vegetable, share it. Yes, the other thing which are easy, I'll show you in a second. Kimmy, hang on. This is, Kimmy's asking, what is a Tetra Pak? This is a Tetra Pak. All right, one of these things that juices come in. The kids' juice boxes are a Tetra Pak, but you can buy bigger ones, and they now have milk and apparently cream. And because of the way that they package it, Kimmy, it has an incredibly long shelf life. Doesn't taste quite like the normal milk, but I want to tell you, if you didn't have milk, you'd be so happy you had it. So do you agree with me that even if you don't do anything else, get some seeds? You know, there are going to be lots of seeds available now as we go into spring uh, in Northern Hemisphere. Uh, so I'm going to make sure I'm stocked up on seeds. I not only want vegetable seeds, I want flower seeds. Now, you all know that I started this potato tower that has now grown this much from a potato that came in with my groceries. All right. And if you just leave it out on the counter, it will start to sprout and grow. And hang on a second, where have I got potatoes? Somewhere. I've especially got some hidden away here. Can you see how that is beginning to sprout? But on the other side, that is even beginning to sprout. So if I cut this, I would cut it like this so I could have this one growing and also have this one. And the chances are any minute now, this one here is going to start growing as well. So just keep it out in a warm place. All right. And then you can start your own potato tower if you want to. All right. So let me ask you in terms of what are we fearful of? Do any of you fear poverty? W. Clement Stone said, thinking will not overcome fear, but action will. All right, so let's have a little talk for a second. If we get into a really difficult situation internationally, will there be a lot of poverty? Yep. But you know, people have survived poverty. I want you to think in terms of history. People can survive poverty, all right? We just don't live as well. But you know, sometimes we live in a more happy way. I've always said to you, one of the things that fascinated me living in Africa is that I could go into what they call the bundu, you know, into the rural areas, the real rural areas, and visit people who had mud huts and no proper, and you know, the only thing on the floor was dirt and maybe a piece of carpet that they'd found somewhere. But you know, no proper flooring, bugs crawling, you know. But were they happy? Yeah. And did they make communal meals and everybody shared? Yep. You see, I think that we could actually, and let me ask you something. What about all those prisoners that were in prisoner of war camps and had little to no food and then were, you know, working all day long on literally a sip or two of soup every day, and the soup was made from potato peelings? Yeah, they survived. So is it possible? If you want it to be, yes. I'm not saying we're going to go there. What I'm saying is don't be fearful of it because the majority of people will survive it. Do any of you fear dying? Now, if this thing blows up literally, that I will die, if that is your fear, then what do you want to do? Do you have a will in place in case your relatives don't die? Do you, you know, do you have your financial stuff in order? Yes, Jody, you and I both. Jody's saying, I'm so grateful I've become accustomed to intermittent fasting. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's sometimes called IF. That is where you don't eat a lot for in fact, you don't eat anything for a lot of the day, you know, like for you know, let's say 16 hours of the day you don't eat, and then you eat for only 8. I quite honestly don't start eating. I have had nothing to eat today, and I will not eat until probably 4 or 5 o'clock. Now, admittedly, I go to bed later, but you know, it's just like I get up. Um, so that's part of my pattern. all right, is I don't eat until later in the afternoon. I'm healthier for it. I do know that. And then, as you know, I do a lot of portion control. And I did want to share with you my feeling of great joy on my recent portion control thing. Let me just show you. So first of all, you all know, and we'll talk about it more this afternoon, I've now started to make more soups and things. And this is a spiced apple cider chicken. Oh no, this is just the apple cider. But you're making 1 cup portions. That is a meal. So just in here, 1, 2, 3, 4 meals. All right. But hang on a sec. All right, I do want to show you this because I think this is, I don't know why I haven't been doing it for years. At the end of the week now, before my bananas go off or whatever, I am making little pucks of banana and raspberry or whatever fruit I happen to have, all right, and then freezing them in my muffin trays, but I'm also freezing cream. So now when I want dessert, right, I can literally pop out a little serving of cream, portion control, a little serving of cream, and put it on top of my fruit puck. But if I really feel the need to be decadent, I take some sugar-free jam and put it between the 2 layers. I want to tell you I recommend that. But how much fruit are you throwing away that you could actually, freeze in a muffin tin? Mix it up and freeze it and be grateful for it. And now, instead of wasting cream, before it goes off, I am now freezing it. And this will come out today, and I'll put it into packages like this. All right, now another thing that's going to be in, yes, you can also make smoothies packs that way. Absolutely. And I can use those for smoothies as well. Another thing that's going to be in short supply. Now, first of all, I wanted to show you why the gas prices. Hang on a second. I actually got a picture for you. Why the gas prices will go insane. I took this picture. Okay. This is not easy to see, but maybe I can describe it so that you guys can understand it. All right, now, I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this? Maybe not. All right, what I'm looking at is, this is Ukraine, and 1, 2, 3 of Russia's 5 main pipelines for gas go through Ukraine. Does that tell you why Ukraine is pretty important? All right. However, the other thing is, are you aware of what proportion of the world's wheat is grown in Russia? And therefore, it is very likely that wheat will be in very short supply or go up a great deal. If you have the ability to buy and store flour, do so. If you have a way to store a lot of it, do so. When I say a lot of it, maybe consider, if you've got the ability to store it, a sack of flour. Not only will it help you, but it could help your neighbors, and it could end up being a source of income for you. All right. The same with stuff like sugar. Although I don't think we'll need sugar as much as we will need flour. Jody was talking about intermittent fasting. Learn how to do with less. I am making those little pucks of soups and stews because they're mostly vegetables, and then maybe 4 or 5 chunks of meat in it. Small chunks, not big ones. If you think about the size of the meat in here, they're very small chunks of meat in here. So yes, Jody, Ukraine is called the breadbasket of Europe, right? But Jody, can you just quickly see what percentage of the world's wheat is grown in Russia? Because that's going to stop coming to the probably stop coming, is my feeling. I could be wrong. Wait a minute. So you're saying, Kimmy, that those of us who can't eat wheat are already paying a lot. You're talking about what? What are you spending the money on that's not wheat? Because to me, you're going to learn to cook things with oatmeal, all right, rather than wheat. You're going to learn to cook with all sorts of different abilities. How many of you are still really concerned? Gluten-free flour, yes. So the thing is this, you will probably do without gluten at all, without flour at all, for a large thing. So, and the cost of it, if you think it's expensive now, Kimmy, I assure you, a year from now, if this thing escalates, you're going to be glad to be paying today's prices. Have any of you done any experiments with dehydrating meat? Thank you, Jody. Jody is reminding me, because that's what I thought. Russia supplies about 20% of the world wheat exports, and Ukraine another 10. That's 1/3 of the world's wheat is going to be in Russia's hands. All right. Does it say what year that was, Jody? I'm being picky here, but it's just like, we need to be aware. 1/3 of the world's wheat is there. And Kimmy, here's the next quote, all right? It takes a lot more courage to let something go than it does to hang on to it. Try to make it better. Letting go doesn't mean ignoring a situation exactly what it is without fear, resistance, struggle for control. So maybe you have to let go of wheat products or non-gluten products altogether. All right. Thanks, Jody. So that quote that we just said, about 30% of the world's wheat is grown in Russia and Ukraine, that was posted a day ago, and that was from the Food and Agricultural Organization. So if you can find a bag of flour, and I mean a sack of flour, and can store it in a healthy way, and maybe you want to do some research into how to do that. Plastic ice cream buckets, for example. What's the worst that can happen? Which is you can use some of it and throw the rest of it away in 5 years. Yeah, but if you had it, you'd be grateful. Some of us will not be able to have chickens or goats or sheep in our backyard, but you'll be surprised how many people will. Now, for those of you who like my potato tower experiment, how many of these could I fit into a space this big? All right. Or maybe even bigger. And boy, I want to tell you, all I do is I just top it up with earth that's been nuked, so it's not bad, but I put nutrients into the water when I water it. But I just water it once a week. And I'm really interested to see in April. I'll wait until the end of April, but we'll open up the bottom one at the end of April and see how we do. But you understand, how many of those could I be growing? And I've got a garden. I could be growing them in the garden. But you understand, I could be growing a lot of those on my deck even, if I wanted to, as long as I could still have these Tetra Paks that milk comes in. Think about that. Actually, these are not true Tetra Paks, right? Because the Tetra Paks are sealed, that they're already, what do you call it? Jody, what's the word for when they zap the milk so that it doesn't go bad? Ugh. Somebody will help me here, I'm sure. So here's another thing. If you knew you were going to have to be growing some things inside, maybe in the winter, because think about this. It's easy to grow things outside in the summer, but what about in the winter? Maybe think about getting a grow light, pasteurized. Thank you very much, Jody. So, it's, if you think about it, I'm reusing my milk containers into making indoor gardens. What am I filling it with? Well, I go out and I get some earth from my garden that I sift to get the stones and twigs and everything else out. And then I mix it. I mix it with leaves that I've been storing from last autumn. All right. I've still got leaves. And what I did is when I collected them, I pulverized them in my leaf blower has the ability to pulverize the leaves. So I've got a garbage can full of pulverized leaves. It's difficult for me to say. And so this is now a mixture of both dirt from the garden that has been nuked and a mixture of leaves to give it nutrition, but also nuked, all right? So that way, I'm hoping that it will work, and I will tell you if it does. Hi there, Gary. Good to see you. So think about getting a grow light so you can grow stuff, all right? What you need is to create, if you can, about 12 hours of light. Now, we're getting close to being back into spring again, so we're getting closer, but I have grow lights in that little window there, my greenhouse window. And I also have it where I'm growing seeds. So I asked if any of you have tried dehydrating meat. Yes, Gary, go right ahead. So if any of you have tried it, I tried it. I tried to dehydrate some beef recently. My problem was it tasted so good, it never got to be packaged away. But it really is pretty simple. Any of you dehydrate tomatoes? Do any of you dehydrate anything? And if not, why not? Last night, I decided I would, I'm just starting to dehydrate some tomatoes here, some grape tomatoes. Now, after the broadcast, between the two broadcasts, they'll go back in a very low heat and we will get rid of some more moisture. But you don't need a fancy dehydrator if you've got an oven. All right, you just need it on a very low heat. And eventually the moisture will dissipate. Now, the only problem is you need to make sure that before you package it away, that it really is without any moisture in it, because if it still has moisture in it, it'll go bad. So even if you think all the moisture's gone, please make sure that you leave them. What I do is I will put them in a mason jar. This is a mason jar lid with a coffee filter in it. So after I think that they are properly dehydrated, I will put them in like this, and I will keep them on top of my toaster oven so the heat keeps going to them, but the moisture, if it's got any, can escape. Okay? And if after a month they all look good still, then I know that this stuff is good to go. Also, if you have, silica packs or whatever, don't ever throw them away. Throw one of those in as well for a month. So think about dehydrating. And if you've never tried it, experiment. And by the way, don't expect it to go right the first time. Life doesn't. So what have we decided? If we really had to, we could grow potatoes, tomatoes, celery, onion, Oops. Sorry about that. This is spinach, kale, dill, cactus, tomato seeds growing. I've also got mint growing. All right, so think about it. You could grow quite a lot of stuff that would be nutritious for you if the supply chain got really bad. So you'd have a choice as well. Do I want to go out and pay 5 times the normal price for it, or can I just add a little bit of what I've been growing to what I've got? All right, so maybe I don't need to buy 2 lots of lettuce, all right? By the way, how long can you make romaine lettuce last? Took me a long time to work this one out, but I can have 3 heads of romaine lettuce, and they can last me a month. I don't eat it every day, every other day normally. But what I do is I wrap it in paper towel, or these are shop vac type towels. All right. So I just want to tell you that, again, if you can only buy one sort of lettuce, buy a lettuce that will last you a long time. It's not a case of whether you have to prepare yourself to war. I'm a great believer, Gary, in be prepared. Hey, this is all interesting stuff if you want it to be, and it will also help you get away from a lot of the fear because it'll give you something to do. So the gas prices, as we've said, if you think it's high now, it's going to go way up. Why? Because so much of gas comes from that part of the world. But how do you halve the cost of gas? You go out half as much. Since I've retired, I have got it down to the fact that I actually go out in my car once a week, or maybe once every 10 days. But I did have to buy a battery charger, because if you don't use your car regularly, the battery automatically just dies on you. And it's just like the cold weather causes it to could do even worse. So I need to have a battery charger if just in case. And luckily, I've now found out that I don't even have to force start it. I can just leave it on for an hour and it'll start the car again. So think about that. If the price of gasoline doubles, what else will double? That's what I want you to think about. Be prepared to be intelligent. If the price of gas doubles, what else will double? Gary's asking me to give a shout out to Candace. Hi, Candace. She loves the content, but lives in another time zone, and so cannot attend the live. Well, we love you, Candace, and leave us a note so I know you got this. All right. So think about this. If the price of gasoline goes up, don't be surprised if what else goes up. Think about this, because you're smart people. You're not stupid. What else will go up? Not because anybody's price gouging you. What else will go up if the price of gas continues to go up like this? Think about it. Anything that gets transported with things with wheels on it. Okay? Anything that gets transported with wheels underneath it will go up. So you think about it, anything that's trucking related, anything that comes to you via Amazon is going to go up in price. Anything that gets brought up from, fruit and vegetable from California, going to get way more expensive. So you keep thinking about these things intelligently. You will not think you're being price gouged. You'll look at the price and you go, you know something, I knew that was coming. And that's because the price of gas went up. Not because they're trying to rip me off. All right? Think about this, people. Don't blame the wrong people. By the way, Gary, English is my second language too, so I relate to that. So think about this, all right? If we are emotionally intelligent, we will cope with this a whole different way, and we will be able to help other people cope with it a whole different way. When somebody gets on the phone to you and says, oh, I can't believe that my local grocery store is ripping me off and da-da-da-da, you go, have you seen the price of gas? What? Have you seen the price of gas? Well, of course I have. What has happened to it? Well, it's gone out of control. Yeah, well, all those things in the store that you're complaining about, they were all bought on trucks using gas. That's why the price went up. I was born in Holland, Gary. But of British parents, so I actually spoke both. But believe you me, I didn't. I thought I spoke English until I got to England, and then I found out I was ESL, as they call it, English as a second language. So remember that Ukraine is a major global supplier of crops like corn and wheat, and Russia is not far behind. All right, the two, as we know, we've just explained, produce 30% of the world's wheat. So be prepared to buy flour. If you use flour a lot, buy it now in large quantity if you can, and store it. Not that we're going to go to war necessarily, but if we did, you wouldn't be sorry. You also would have a very valuable commodity. You remember, I've been stockpiling coffee. 1, 2, 6. I think I've got at least a year's worth of coffee here. And the reason I have been stockpiling coffee is I know not only have I got enough to last me for that long, but also in the last war, coffee became a very useful commodity to barter with, right? Like I need eggs. Well, I haven't got money, but I have got coffee. All right. Yes. So Kimmy's saying bugs get into flour and it is useless. However, it is possible to store flour, Kimmy, if you store it properly. Does anybody know the right way to store flour so it doesn't get bugs in it? It would obviously have to be in a vacuum sealed container of some sort. So it probably would need to go inside vacuum bags, where all the air has been pulled out of it, and then probably into plastic containers or whatever, thick ones, ice cream buckets or whatever, to keep the rodents out. But, if you do a bit of research, it is possible for flour to be stored. Next thing, all right, how about have any of you thought about maybe, hey, I've got a garden, maybe I will grow more corn so that at least I have cornmeal if I want it. All right, not easy to do, but it's just like learn now. So by the time, I hope you never need it, but if you did, you go, I know how to grow corn now. Be aware that there is going to be a major refugee crisis. So those of you who feel the pain of others a lot, all right, and I'm certain most of you do, be prepared to see a lot of that, right? Desensitize yourself to some degree, all right? Desensitize yourself. So if you expect to see it, it won't hurt you as much as if you don't expect to see it. So here's again, when you start seeing the humanitarian cost of what's going to happen in Ukraine, don't watch it all day long. All right. Be aware it's going on. It's already going on, quite honestly. You know, war is not pleasant. And I don't have any way of stopping it. Do you? Kimmy, the story is correct. Flour can get bugs in it, all right, if it's not properly stored. But I also believe there is a way to store it. And the reason I know that is because I used to live on a farm where we ground corn into flour. Gary, I have no wish to learn any of that. And I would like you're probably being funny, but I don't need that in this broadcast. Okay, thank you, Jody. All right, so think about this as well. Yeah, but storing flour in your refrigerator is not going to last very long. If you've got a big freezer, you can keep it in there as well. I will probably put at least 10 pounds into the deep freeze. I'll have to, use up stuff so I can do it because my deep freeze is full. But I think I'm going to put an extra 10 pounds of flour in my deep freeze for emergencies in case it ever gets to that. I would like to say that watching this happen in real time is not easy. The other thing is, this is going to be a very different way of watching war. All right. How many of you watched the troops go into Iraq? What was it, 20 years ago? I did. I was actually on a speaking gig. I was due to give a keynote address at a convention, and I was in the hotel room watching the shock and awe go down when they tried to kill Saddam. Desert Storm. Yes, thank you. I want to tell you, I can remember where I was watching that very clearly. I was in this hotel room in the middle of British Columbia, and I want to say that we thought that was amazing that we could watch a war go down in real time. I think the difference today is we will be having so much more available because of social media. But my next question is, how are you protecting yourself from social media of disinformation? And that is going to be your biggest problem. Do you think that right now the Russian hackers are busy feeding the social media systems with disinformation. Yep. Do you think that we are likely to get disinformation on Facebook, on Twitter, on, Instagram, on whatever? Yes, because somebody will read it and in all good faith think it's the truth and pass it on. And the next thing is it just escalates. So be very careful where you get your information. And again, and I will say this to you time and time again, if you want to be emotionally intelligent, make sure that you read the stuff that you agree with as well as the stuff that you don't. All right? As well as the stuff that you don't. I just lost I don't know why it does that to me. I lose the chat. So I'm going to try and get it up on another medium. Hold on a second. What's the easiest way? Maybe here. Just bear with me a second, please. I just want to be able to read the comments, if any. And now I've got to turn down the sound, that's for sure.
There are some moments you'll always remember. Enduring, magical moments of life that live in a special place in your heart. Moments that will last forever.
Oops. Bear with me, people. Please. Come on. Okay, there we go. That sounds off. There we go. And now I've got some chat. All right, so how are you guys feeling about your level of fear right now? We started off talking about it. Nobody wants to talk about war, right? Nobody wants to feel that that's what we're about to go into and that it could escalate into, World War III. Nobody wants to talk about it. But do we need to be prepared that it could happen? And that is all that I ask you to do, is really think about, hey, I don't have to get all bent out of shape and end of the world's coming, but I can be prepared, like the girl guy said, right? And so the key to change is to let go of fear. Don't be fearful. Just go, hey, it could happen. And how prepared am I? I'd like to think that DearMamaSal viewers are more prepared than most people. All right? I really do. I'd like to think that you are emotionally more intelligent than most people, because we talk about these things a lot, right? We don't hush, hush. We don't want to talk about that. It's not fun. No, it's not fun, but it's life. So let's be aware. So let's think about our friends. Who do you know that probably is in a state of real panic, just thinking about this, right? We probably know people that won't be able to cope well with this. So let's make sure that we are good friends to them. I want to say that, life as we know it could change dramatically. All right. And that's unfortunately our reality. And how about this one? It was said that your fear of letting go prevents you from letting go of your fear of letting go. And so this is about, if you understand what your fear is, hey, I'm scared of dying. You can say, okay, well, if that did happen, what do I need to get in place? Concentrate on doing that, not on, you can't change what is happening there. If you hate the humanitarian loss that is happening, you cannot, unless you want to sign up and go fight for Ukraine, all right? But can you donate money? Can you knit beanies and scarves for, the temperatures are horrific down there, and how many people are going to be homeless, all right? How many refugees are going to need scarves and blankies and goodness knows? Maybe But what I found out from working in a lot of different non-profit organizations is that people want to make things and send them. But the truth is, um, it is better to actually send money so that they can buy them in the right place. If you think about it, trying to transport a whole container full of blankets is expensive. And for the amount of money that is in there, all right, you can just do that with a wire transfer and buy the blankets at the nearest place where the need is. So you think about that. But if all you've got is wool and a pair of knitting needles, then maybe you will end up being somebody, or a crochet hook. Maybe you'll be somebody who does that. I have never thrown away my extra wool for that reason. All right. Just in case I've got it in bags, and if ever I needed to, I could do that. Do not fear mistakes. There's another thing. You will know failure. All right? Do not fear mistakes. Am I prepared to not have one potato come out of my potato tower? Yeah. But the reason that I do it is I want to see, can I do it? All right? That's what I want to know. Can I do it? Jody, I'm having problems with the feed. So if there are any questions that I'm missing, please could you just cut and paste them into Messenger for me? And let me get my Messenger up so that I think what happens is there's an interrupt on my signal, and that is what causes my feed to change. Hold on one second. I can't even get my Messenger up now. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it, Judy. All right, I can get Messenger on here, though. That's good. And on there, apparently. Well done, Jody. Keep up the good work. We can do this together, right? We will not be beaten by technology. All right, so I look at life in a way that says, I cannot control so much of it, all right? But do I really need to continue to be fearful of it? That is the whole thing. Do I need to be fearful of it, or can I, at my level, do the best I can with what I've got? So, Jody, maybe part of what you need to do, and don't worry about the fact if they think that you are a negative thinking person, all right, is because you are on medications that are vital to keep you out of pain. Maybe what you need to do is to have a really good discussion with your doctor about, if this happened and the supply chain problems got worse, how would I get medications? I think you need to have that discussion. To me, that is not being a stupid person. That's being a smart one. So any of you who are taking really important drugs that keep you, that are not over-the-counter stuff, hey, if it's over-the-counter stuff, just stock up, all right, as far as you can. But if you are on prescription-only drugs, for example, I'm on heart meds, blood pressure. So for me, it's going to be, I have enough for 3 months. But part of my next discussion will be, hey, if the supply chain has problems, how do I get my heart meds? Now, obviously, I can make them last twice as long by taking them every other day, not every day. But think about it, all right? Will I have the money to buy them? That's another question. So don't let what your fear of what could happen make nothing happen, all right? That's what I'm saying is, hey, it's okay to have fear, but ask yourself, what can you do? Not what you can't do. What can you do? And if you realize that you can do quite a bit, I think the people who survive the best during tough times are people who are fixers. People who can go, okay, that is the problem, but we can find a way around that. We can do this. I was thinking, how many people could, what if we suddenly had an influx of refugees? Could you look after one or two? Could you? Yeah, until they get their feet on the ground. Could you look after one for a month or two or whatever? And for those of you who are churchgoers, be aware that your church may be bringing in refugees or offering to help them. Jack Canfield said, everything you want is on the other side of fear. So know that whatever is going on in the world, it is not fun, but it's not going to last forever. I don't honestly think anybody wants World War III. I don't think they will let it happen, quite honestly. And how do you stop it? That's not for us to know. I'm pretty certain the people who know how to do this are doing it now. All right? I am certain there will be a lot of saber rattling. There are going to be a lot more bad things happen before the good things start to happen. But for whatever reason, I don't think that it's going to end up in Third World War. And the reason is because there won't be a world left. And how about this one? And I thought about it in terms of the potato tower here. It's hard to fail, but it's worse never to have tried to succeed. If I open this bottom area up at the end of November, I realize that I could end up with nothing. Okay. So, but can I say, hey, but at least you tried. At least you tried. And some of you will say, well, you wasted 4 months. And I'm going, I don't mind. At least I tried. I found out a way that it didn't work. I can't do it in milk cartons. Thank you. Jody sent me some notes. Yes, Kimmy's saying, where I live, they will only give people 1 month's supply of medicine. That is the same anywhere if you are on prescription drugs. All right. But what I'm saying is, I cannot believe that you cannot get medications. What you need to know is, if this happened tomorrow, Mr. Doctor, what do I do? Right? Jody, the meds you are on, all right? If that came in short supply next week, what do you do with the ones that you have? Is it okay to take them every other day in an emergency? You need to know what can you do, not what can't you do. Am I making sense here? All right. I know it's not a good idea to take blood pressure pills every other day, but is it better to take it every other day than not at all? Mind you, if you look at the upside, and forgive me for having a moment of humor here, if things got really that bad, then we wouldn't have as much food, and probably we would be eating a different diet, which would take away the need to have some of these pills. So to me, it's like I would like to have that discussion. And I can assure you, I will be doing a bit more research into that, in terms of what did they do in the previous wars, with people who needed medication. Thanks for the update, Jody. I appreciated that. So this is all about, be aware that things can change in a heartbeat. Right? One night we went to bed and we woke up to Ukraine being invaded completely. Not a part of it, the whole of it was being invaded. So I look at all these things and say to myself, and I'm reading a quote here that says, love is letting go of fear, which we know is what Dr. Jerry Jampolsky said. Courage is letting go of fear. Don't let fear stop you, but trust your heart to lead you in the right direction. So some of you are just going to poo-poo this and go, it's not going to happen. Don't worry about it. I don't know about you, but I want to make sure I've got powdered milk, both whole milk and skim, and I look through it. Now, is it enough to keep me going for 5 years? Of course not. Of course not. But I know I've got a season's worth of food stored in my big freezer. See, a whole season. I could last a whole season in terms of frozen vegetables and meals. In fact, probably longer. Because in there I've also got roasts. Why? Because the next roast I pull up will probably make enough food to keep me going for another couple of weeks. All right. So, I look at it that way and go, am I constantly, I am now not buying individual cuts of meat, I'm buying roasts so that I can, um, make more meals out of less. All right. Jean is saying, oh, good. Especially Kimmy's saying that she's going to the doctor and you will discuss it with him. Good. Now, he's going to go, oh, it's never going to happen. The answer to that, Kimmy, is I understand that, but let's for a second presume that it does. I want to be prepared. I need to know it will lower my stress level if I know what I can do. All right. Don't let them cut you off, Kimmy. Don't let them say, oh, no, don't you worry your little pretty little head about that. You go, excuse me, I need to be prepared. It will help my mental health. All right. So, some of you need to be aware that anxiety can end up, with symptoms that look like a stroke or a heart attack or whatever. I've had that happen. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was literally in ICU, tied up to everything. And they said, we think you've had a heart attack. And I said, why? And they said, all your symptoms, you know me, I want to know why. All your symptoms are of a heart attack. And I go, but I don't think I did. Yeah, I did. Don't worry. But we think you did. And, 8 hours later, they told me, you're right. You didn't. But you sure were displaying, I've had anxiety attacks where literally my vision has gone and all sorts of things that are typical of a stroke, and maybe, who knows? But the more emotionally intelligent I get, the more I talk about these things, the more I realize being prepared is way better than being scared out of my mind, the less I'm going to be in hospital. So I want you all to know that we can do this. We can do this. And it may never happen. But won't you feel better for going, hey, at least I am semi-prepared? And to people who are laughing at you because, oh, how can you be so stupid? They'll be the ones coming to you and saying, do you happen to have any flour? I haven't had flour in a month. And you go, yeah, actually I do. And by the way, let me give you a couple of tomatoes to go with it. I'd like to be that person. What about you? I mean, that's the way I look at it. I want to be that person. I want to be that person that can help people as far as possible, not one that's not able to help. So that is really what I've wanted to talk to you about. And I know that some of you will appreciate it, and some of you will think about it, and some of you are already doing things about it. All right. So remember what I've said. If you're going to buy a can, don't buy the small can, buy the bigger one. If you're going to buy flour, don't buy the small bag of flour, buy the bigger one. And there is a reason why they sift flour. There's a reason why they sift flour, right? In case there are any bugs in it. So, there are so many things that we can get a sense of humor about if we want to. And I am saying to you that we are really so fortunate. But, if you really want to say to yourself, could I survive this? You just want to see what was a normal portion. And that's why when we do the broadcast tonight, and we'll be talking and doing, by the way, we're doing a barbecued peach chicken casserole. Okay. But what I want, and what I do when I do these things in Friday evenings when I'm doing the cooking, I start by making sure we know what a portion is. All right. A portion of chicken is not a whole chicken breast. An official portion is probably about half one. But you see, that means that we could double the use of the food we have if we just went down to proper portions. But what if you could only have quarter of a chicken breast? Would you be grateful? I would. My mentality is, hey, if I can have a soup with a couple of bits of meat in it, I'm going to be grateful. If I can have, not healthy, but if I could have a can of spaghetti things with meat in it, yeah, I'd be grateful. I bet you that would feel like $1 million if I was hungry. And yes, it will have too much sodium in it. But I'll probably be walking a lot more. That's the other thing. Think about how close is your nearest store? Could you walk to it? All right. I realize that I could walk to my nearest store and not use the car. So, by the way, if you got the ability and you've got a car, get it serviced sooner rather than later. All those sort of things. Be prepared. And I just want to say, life is incredible. If we remember that there are only two real emotions, and really that everything that we feel is in between those, love and fear. And you go, how do I stop being in fear and just maybe go down to being scared? And then once you can get yourself under control and scared, what can I do about it? All right. Always ask yourself, the way you get out of fear into just being scared is asking yourself, okay, what's real here? What is emotion? Get rid of the emotion. Being scared is an emotion that doesn't help anybody. But if you say, I am scared for the people in Ukraine, you can do something about that. You can, that is something you can do something with. And if you can't, you can offer your time or your motivation or your intellect, whatever, your money, to people who can. And maybe that's what you want to do, is research who's going to be, where would be the right route to send things. If you remember, the way that prisoners of war stayed alive in a lot of those prisoner of war camps is people made incredible packages for them, and sent them to the Red Cross. And, people sent food to the Red Cross and the Red Cross packaged it up. So, that is, and then they sent these little care packages to the prisoners of war. And, it's just like, there are so many incredible things that will happen in the next few months. Even though we're going to watch horrible things happen, there are going to be incredible things that happen. I don't know if any of you saw the newscast about the one guy who they interviewed. He was busy taking his family to the border so they could escape. And there was something about the way he said it. And the journalist said, then what are you going to do? He said, I'm driving back. I'm going to drop them off. Once I made sure they're safe, I'll drop them off. And then I'm coming back to fight. You see, they're going to be incredible stories of incredible people. And I'm hoping that as you hear them, see them, read them, think about them, you will be so grateful for the very easy life we have. You'll be so grateful for living in a democracy. You'll be so grateful for being alive. And that is something I would ask you to concentrate on. All right, everybody. I doubt it will be the last time I discuss this, but when we have feelings, we can choose how to control them if we are emotionally intelligent. Do not think that you should not be afraid. I think it's very healthy that you are. Do not think that you cannot be totally prepared. Be as prepared as you can be. All right. I only have enough coffee to last me probably a year. I may need coffee for 5 years. So it's just like, but I could certainly end up with coffee for 2 years by using the same pod twice. If I really had to, I could use it 4 times. That would give me 4 years. And who knows whether I'd even be alive. So, I look at it with a bit of a sense of humor as well. And that's what I like. If you like tea, buy a big bag of tea. It really won't. It'll be an incredible saving. And I just want to say, people, we can do this. All right. We can do it together. Let's keep talking about it. Let's keep joking about it as far as we can in terms of, hey, I'd be interested to hear what you buy and what you manage to find. And, just don't expect things to stay the same, because they're not going to. Expect the prices to go escalating up now. We already were prepared for them to go up, but now, if they were going up like that, I think we're going to find them going up like that. If you are on a budget, start thinking how, I know I've already cut my budget down to cope with the prices, but hey, you may have to do that again. What are you going to let go of? Be prepared, and you will survive this. With, what I want to say is, you will survive it with your brain intact. All right, your mental health will survive. If you go, I actually like to have eggs every day, but I could live with only having one a week. Well, let me practice with only a couple. And by the way, have you got powdered eggs? Nobody likes powdered eggs, but could you use them in baking if you needed to? Yeah, those sort of decisions are ones that you might want to make. All right, so this is DearMamaSal. I'm out of here. Join me this evening when we cook barbecue peach chicken casserole. I'm really looking forward to that. I will do two versions of it so that I can have some changes during when I pull those out. I will do a couple of them that are straight, and then a couple of them that I will probably make into a sort of curried version. But the main thing is just how many different ways can we eat chicken? And I don't do chicken very often. So this is DearMamaSal saying, look after yourselves and look after your brain. Understand that feeling fear is normal, and make sure that your family and friends know that, if they say, I'm scared, stupid with what's going on, you go, that would be normal. You and the rest of us that, watch the news. What in particular are you scared of? Right? Get specific. Get them talking about what specifically. I'm scared I'm going to die. Yep. That's a possibility. We all could. So is your will in place? Yeah. Just in case you don't make it, but I do. I mean, it's just like, think about things that you can get them doing. So don't sit there and worry yourself sick. Get an appointment with a lawyer and draw up a will. Goodbye. We'll see you tonight. This is DearMamaSal saying thank you so much for being here. Thank you for caring for other people, which I know you all do. But make sure that you create this emotional boundary that goes, as sad as it all is, I need to keep control of me, because the only way I can help other people is to be in control of my emotion. This is DearMamaSal saying thanks for being here. Thanks for your help, Jody, and bye-bye for now.